Good afternoon, Jets Nation. Welcome to the Jew Jets Show. We all know what's going on in the New York Jets quarterback room right now. So what are our options at quarterback and which one is the best for us? Let's go ahead and talk about it. So the way we're going to do this is by working our way from the top of the depth chart all the way to the bottom. So QB1, as of now, is Zach Wilson, who has started the past 7 games for the New York Jets. In those 7 games, he's thrown for 1,279 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. And also in those 7 games, he has led us to 5 victories, or only 2 losses going against the New England Patriots. So if Zach Wilson just doesn't play the Patriots again for the rest of the season, which he won't, he's going to win the rest of the games. No, I'm just kidding, but, who knows? But it's not, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He looked terrible against the New England Patriots on Sunday, and is the reason why I'm making this video. If we would have had competent quarterback play in that game, the New York Jets win it. It's just that simple. But because Zach Wilson played the way he did on Sunday, the New York Jets lost the game. Obviously, when you have a quarterback play that bad, a change definitely has to be sparked. It definitely has to have an idea. And we know Robert Saleh thought very thorough about this. He was like 2 hours late to his normal press conference. That normally doesn't happen. He had to be in some really deep meetings that he didn't want to leave to go to his press conference. So they must have been thinking about really hard replacing Zach Wilson just because he played that bad. And another thing with Zach Wilson, he also could potentially be losing the New York Jets locker room. He clearly was the problem the Jets lost the game, but apparently he didn't think so. And he was walking around the locker room like he wasn't the problem. Obviously, that's going to rub the locker room the wrong way, especially the defense, who played phenomenal for all 60 minutes of the game, but because you couldn't do anything on offense, their phenomenal efforts were essentially wasted. So switching quarterbacks might be the best thing to do for on the field and off the field. And I did mention Zach Wilson had a 5-2 record, but we won those games because of a dominant run game and a dominant defense. We only really saw Zach Wilson win the New York Jets a game in Week 4, where he had a phenomenal fourth quarter performance and led a comeback drive against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But outside of that, Zach Wilson hasn't really contributed much to the New York Jets' wins. And in fact, in all 5 of those wins, he's essentially been a game manager, stepping up when the New York Jets needed him to. But because our run game was so dominant, we really didn't need to rely on Zach Wilson. But whenever we put the game in his hands, we see him completely mess it up. He did it both times against the New England Patriots. So there is a reason to why switching out Zach Wilson might be the best thing to do, because handling pressure obviously isn't something he's very good at. But that's option number 1. Moving on to option number 2 is Mike White, who everyone knows because last year against the Cincinnati Bengals, the AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals, Mike White threw for over 400 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he also tossed 2 interceptions. White threw 8 interceptions in 3 games played for the New York Jets last season, at least throwing 2 in each of those games. So turnovers are an issue for Mike White, and we also saw him not look good in preseason. He struggled against those backups. But something good must be going on behind the scenes, right? Because he is now the New York Jets QB2. He's moved up the depth chart. So that is our second quarterback option. But if the New York Jets want to go with a proven veteran, a Super Bowl MVP, we might go with Joe Flacco. Flacco, of course, started the first 3 games of the season for the New York Jets. In those 3 games, he led us to a 1-2 record, threw for 901 yards, 5 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. He, of course, orchestrated the amazing comeback win over the Cleveland Browns, but also was kind of the problem in our 2 losses to the Ravens and the Bengals. Now, part of it wasn't on him. He's a statue in the pocket. He's 37 years old. The offensive line wasn't playing great, and bad things weren't going to happen. It led to rush throws, routes not developing, and etc. But then at the same time, Flacco also wasn't really making great throws in a clean pocket, wasn't reading the field too well, and obviously something good, or not something good, something bad must be going on behind the scenes of Flacco's moving down the depth chart. But that is our 3rd QB option. And then moving on to our 4th quarterback option, we have Chris Streveler. Of course, he was the preseason MVP for the New York Jets. He led us to not 1, not 2, but 3 comeback drives. He's also a super mobile player, but he lacks the main qualities you want in a quarterback. He doesn't really have a strong arm. He's not very accurate, and he also makes poor decisions with the football. Streveler reminds me a lot of Taysom Hill just because he's such a great runner, and it wouldn't surprise me if the Jets or any other team in the future would give Streveler a role similar to Taysom Hill is just because he's so good of a runner and he's tough. Chris Streveler can really bulldoze some players. I mean, he could really be used like Taysom Hill is for the New Orleans Saints. But as a quarterback, you're not going to get much from Chris Streveler. I mean, he came in a game for the Arizona Cardinals back in 2020, played pretty much all of it, and looked bad. He played really bad. And to be honest, I don't think Chris Streveler is going to be an NFL starting quarterback or have a chance to be one anytime soon. I mean, the worst is going to happen if Streveler becomes QB1 for the New York Jets. So we looked at all 4 of the New York Jets quarterback options. Who do we start? This might be the unpopular answer, but I feel like it's Zach Wilson. I mean, we know this dude can be a game manager for us. We've seen him step up in huge situations for the New York Jets this season. It's just he has to do it consistently, and he hasn't done that. Now, hopefully he can eventually figure things out with the New York Jets. Hopefully that's what Zach Wilson does towards the final stretch of the season. But we're just going to have to wait and see. I mean, if worse comes to worse, we're going to put in Mike White, we're going to put in Joe Flacco, maybe even Chris Streveler, but we're just going to have to wait and see. But those are all 4 of the New York Jets quarterback options. What do you guys think of the video? Comment it down below. And I'm your host, Jujits, signing off for now. See you guys later.